I sit in Dr. Sullivan's examination room, clutching my side where 3 broken ribs throb beneath my shirt. My mother's whispered words from 2 hours earlier echo in my mind. Stay quiet. Your brother has a future. Football scholarships don't come twice. When I lift my shirt to show the damage, Dr. Sullivan's face goes completely still. She sees the purple and black bruises spreading across my torso like spilled ink. The doctor meets my eyes and says 5 words that change everything. You're safe now, I promise. Then she reaches for the phone. 2 days before sitting in that examination room, I pulled into my apartment complex parking lot at 11:30 on a Tuesday night. My scrubs were wrinkled and stained from a double shift at County General Hospital, where I worked as a registered nurse in the emergency department. Exhaustion pulled at every muscle in my body as I climbed the stairs to my second-floor apartment. All I wanted was a hot shower and my bed. The moment I opened my door, I knew something was wrong. The air felt different, disturbed. I flipped on the light and my stomach dropped. My apartment had been ransacked. Drawers hung open, their contents scattered across the floor. My couch cushions were thrown aside. The small desk where I kept my laptop sat empty, the charging cord dangling uselessly. I ran to my bedroom, my heart hammering. My jewelry box lay overturned on the dresser, the few nice pieces my grandmother left me gone. I kept emergency cash in an envelope taped inside my closet shelf. That was gone too. $800 I had been saving for months. I didn't need to guess who had done this. There was only one person with a spare key to my apartment. One person who knew where I kept everything valuable. My younger brother, Derek. At 22 years old, Derek was supposed to be finishing his senior year at State University on a full-ride football scholarship. He was a star linebacker, the hometown hero everyone loved. Scouts from 5 NFL teams had been watching him all season. Our mother, Linda, talked about nothing else. Derek was going to make it big, go pro, become a millionaire. Derek was the golden child who could do no wrong. I was just Randy, the boring older sister who worked long hospital shifts and lived in a cramped apartment, the one who paid her own way through nursing school, the one nobody noticed. But I noticed things about Derek that everyone else seemed to ignore. Like how money disappeared from Mom's purse when he visited. Like how 3 months ago, $500 vanished from my checking account after he borrowed my debit card for gas. I grabbed my phone and my keys and drove straight to our childhood home in the suburbs, a 20-minute drive that felt like seconds fueled by my anger. Mom's house sat on a quiet street, lined with oak trees, a modest ranch-style home she had bought after Dad died when I was 12. It was past midnight when I pulled into the driveway, but Derek's truck was there, parked at an angle like he had been in a hurry. I found him in the driveway, loading something bulky into the bed of his truck. When my headlights hit him, he froze. "What are you doing at my place?" I demanded, slamming my car door. Derek straightened up, his massive frame blocking the streetlight. At 6 feet 4 inches and 240 pounds of solid muscle, my brother was physically intimidating. He used it to his advantage. "I don't know what you're talking about." "My laptop, Derek. My grandmother's necklace. My emergency money. Where is it?" His face hardened. "You're crazy. I haven't been to your apartment in months." I pulled out my phone and showed him my bank statements. 3 months ago, you took $500 from my account. I have the ATM footage from the bank. And now this. I'm done covering for you. Something shifted in Derek's expression. The false innocence dropped away, replaced by something cold and cruel. "You've always been jealous of me. Mom always loved me more, and you can't stand it." The words stung because they were partially true. Mom had always favored Derek, made excuses for him, protected him. But this wasn't about jealousy. This was about theft. "Give me my things back, or I'm calling the police," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Derek laughed, a harsh sound in the quiet night. "Go ahead. Mom will never let you destroy my future over a few borrowed dollars. You know how important this season is. Scouts everywhere. My draft potential. You really want to be the one who ruins that? Borrowed? You stole from me. Prove it. He took a step toward me, his shadow swallowing mine. Who do you think people will believe? The town star athlete, or his bitter sister, who's always been jealous? The front door opened. Mom appeared on the porch in her bathrobe, her face creased with worry and anger. What's going on out here? It's after midnight. Derek broke into my apartment and stole from me, I said. Again. Mom's expression immediately closed off. I had seen this look before, countless times over the years. The look that said I was overreacting, being dramatic, making problems where none existed. Randy, that's a serious accusation, Mom said carefully. Derek, did you go to your sister's apartment? No, ma'am, Derek said smoothly, his voice respectful and innocent. The perfect son. I've been here all evening studying for my economics final. It was such an obvious lie. Derek never studied. He paid other students to write his papers, had tutors take his online quizzes, skated through college on his athletic talent alone. He's lying, I insisted. Mom, he has my spare key. He knows where I keep everything. This isn't the first time. Mom descended the porch steps, her face tight. Randy, you're being irrational. Derek has a championship game this Saturday. Scouts from the Dallas Cowboys and the New England Patriots will be there. Do you understand what that means? This is his shot at the NFL. At millions of dollars. At escaping this town and making something of himself. What about making something of himself by not being a thief? Mom flinched like I had slapped her. How dare you? Derek would never steal from family. Yes, he would. He's been doing it for years, and you keep making excuses for him. Derek's jaw clenched. I saw the rage building behind his eyes, the same rage I had seen when he was younger, when he beat up smaller kids at school and Mom blamed them for provoking him, when he drove drunk at 19 and crashed into a mailbox, and Mom called in favors to make the DUI disappear, when a girl in high school accused him of assault and Mom paid her family to drop it. You need to leave, Derek said, his voice dangerously quiet. Before you say something you regret. I'm not leaving without my things. Randy, go home, Mom said firmly. We'll talk about this later when you've calmed down. I'm perfectly calm. I'm the victim here. You're overreacting, Mom said, and I heard the finality in her tone. She had made her choice, like she always did. Derek over me. Derek's future over my present reality. I'm calling the police, I said, pulling out my phone again. Derek moved fast for someone his size. He crossed the distance between us in 2 strides and grabbed my shoulders hard, his fingers digging into my flesh. You'll keep your mouth shut, he hissed. Let go of me. Instead, he shoved me backward with tremendous force. I stumbled, trying to catch my balance, but my feet tangled. My back slammed into the brick wall of the garage with a sickening crack. Pain exploded through my chest, stealing my breath. I couldn't inhale. My vision blurred. I felt myself sliding down the wall, my legs giving out. Through the ringing in my ears, I heard Mom scream. But she didn't run to help me. She stood frozen on the lawn, hands over her mouth. Derek loomed over me where I crumpled on the concrete driveway. You'll keep your mouth shut, he repeated, or next time will be worse. Then he stepped over me and walked into the house like nothing had happened. I gasped for air, each attempt sending sharp agony through my ribs. Something was broken inside me. I knew it with the medical certainty of my nursing training. Mom finally moved, kneeling beside me with tears streaming down her face. But she wasn't crying for me. She was crying for Derek, for what I might do to him, for his precious future. Please don't go to the hospital, she whispered urgently, helping me stumble to my car. Please, Randy. This was an accident. He didn't mean it. You know how he gets when he's stressed. The championship game, the scouts, all that pressure. He just snapped. It won't happen again. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe properly, couldn't believe this was happening. He has a future, Mom continued, her voice breaking. A real future. Please don't ruin it over this. He's my son. Our family needs this. Think about what this could mean for all of us. She got me into my car, closed the door gently, and leaned through the window. Her eyes were desperate, pleading. Stay quiet about this. For the family. For Derek's future. Football scholarships don't come twice. I drove away, hunched over the steering wheel, each breath a knife in my chest. In my rearview mirror, I saw Mom standing in the driveway, watching me go. Derek appeared beside her, put his arm around her shoulders. They turned and walked into the house together. I had never felt so alone. I barely made it home. Every bump in the road sent fresh waves of agony through my torso. By the time I parked and dragged myself upstairs, I was crying from the pain. Inside my ransacked apartment, I collapsed on the couch, too hurt to clean up the mess, too broken to care. The pain was unlike anything I had ever experienced. Each breath felt like my ribs were grinding together, sharp edges scraping. I knew the signs of broken ribs. I had treated enough patients with them. But knowing and experiencing were vastly different things. I wanted to go to the emergency room. I should go. Broken ribs could puncture lungs, cause internal bleeding, lead to pneumonia if you couldn't breathe deeply enough. But Mom's voice echoed in my head. Stay quiet. Think of Derek's future. Don't ruin the family. And there was more holding me back. County General was where I worked. Everyone there knew me, knew my family, knew Derek. Mom volunteered in the hospital's fundraising office, had connections with the board of directors. Derek's face was plastered all over town on posters celebrating the football team's winning season. If I showed up in the ER with broken ribs from an assault, people would ask questions. Word would spread. Derek's scholarship would be investigated. His future would crumble. But what about my present? I spent that first night on the couch, sitting upright because lying down was impossible. Over the counter, pain medication barely touched the agony. I dozed fitfully, waking every few minutes when I unconsciously tried to breathe deeply. Morning light crept through my blinds. I hadn't slept more than 20 minutes total. Getting off the couch required 5 agonizing minutes of carefully positioning myself. Walking to the bathroom took twice as long as usual. Looking in the mirror showed me a nightmare. Bruises had bloomed across my left side, spreading from my lower ribs up to my shoulder blade. Deep purple, almost black in places, with edges of sickly yellow and green. My skin was hot to the touch, swollen and tender. The image would have shocked me in any patient. On myself, it was surreal. I had to call in sick to work. In 3 years of nursing, I had never missed a shift. Never. I prided myself on reliability, on being the nurse supervisors could count on. But I couldn't hide these injuries, couldn't lift patients, couldn't do my job. My supervisor, Barbara, answered on the second ring. Randy, you're on the schedule for 3 this afternoon. I know. I'm sorry. I can't come in. I have the flu. The lie tasted bitter, but what else could I say? Barbara was silent for a moment. She knew me well enough to hear the strain in my voice. The flu? You sound awful. Are you sure you don't need to be seen? I'll be fine. Just need rest. Take care of yourself. Keep me updated. After I hung up, my coworker Jenny called immediately. Jenny and I had gone through nursing school together, started at County General the same week, and had become close friends despite our different personalities. She was bubbly and social where I was quiet and reserved. Barbara said you called in sick, Jenny said, worry evident in her voice. Are you okay? You never get sick. Just the flu. Randy. Jenny's voice dropped. What's really going on? You sound terrible. Do you need me to come over? No. The word came out too sharp, too panicked. I mean, no, don't. It's contagious. I don't want you to catch it. Jenny didn't believe me. I could hear it in her silence. But she was kind enough not to push. Okay, but call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I'm serious. After she hung up, I stood in my destroyed apartment, alone with my pain and my secrets. I looked at the mess Derek had made, the violation of my space and my trust. I looked at my bruises in the mirror again. I thought about how easily Derek had hurt me, how Mom had chosen his future over my safety, how a lifetime of being invisible and unimportant had led to this moment. My phone buzzed. Mom calling. I almost didn't answer. "Randy, honey." Her voice was careful, controlled. "I wanted to check on you. Are you okay?" Was I okay? Was she seriously asking me that? "I'm fine," I said flatly. "Good. That's good." She paused. "Listen, about last night. Derek feels terrible about what happened. It was an accident, you know. He's under so much pressure with the championship game on Saturday. All those scouts watching, his entire future on the line. You understand, don't you?" I understood perfectly. I understood that she was making excuses for him again. I understood that my pain meant less than his football career. I understood that I would never matter as much as Derek in her eyes. "He's been working so hard," Mom continued when I didn't respond. "This is his dream, Randy. Our dream for him. Ever since your father died, I've been trying to give Derek every opportunity. He's going to make it out of this town. He's going to be someone. We just need to get through this season, through the draft. Once he signs with the team, everything will be different. We'll all benefit. The whole family." There it was. The real reason. Mom had been counting on Derek's NFL money to rescue her from her modest real estate career and her mortgaged house. She had been spending money she didn't have, living on credit, assuming Derek's millions would solve everything. She needed Derek to succeed, not just for him, but for herself. "Think about the family," Mom said softly. "Think about what this could mean for all of us. Derek didn't mean to hurt you. Boys like him, athletes, they're physical. Sometimes they don't know their own strength. It was an accident. Just an unfortunate accident. An accident. She was rewriting history already, turning assault into mishap. "I need to go," I whispered. "Randy, wait. Please don't do anything rash. Don't talk to anyone about this. Derek has such a bright future. Don't ruin it because of one little incident." One little incident that left me with 3 broken ribs and bruises covering half my torso. I hung up without saying goodbye. The rest of that day blurred together. Pain medication made me drowsy but didn't help me sleep. I tried to clean up my apartment but could barely bend over to pick things up. My laptop and grandmother's jewelry were gone forever, along with my emergency savings. Derek had stolen my money, my possessions, and my sense of safety. That night was worse than the first. The pain intensified as swelling increased. I couldn't find any position that didn't hurt. My training told me I needed medical attention, that waiting was dangerous. But every time I considered going to the hospital, I thought about the consequences, the questions, the police reports, the destruction of Derek's dreams, Mom's disappointment, the family fractured beyond repair. I had spent my whole life being the good daughter, the responsible one, the one who didn't cause problems. Dad died when I was 12, and I had tried so hard to make things easier for Mom. I got good grades, stayed out of trouble, paid my own way through college. I never asked for anything. I just tried to be good enough, worthy enough, to earn the love Mom poured so freely on Derek. But it was never enough. I would never be enough, because I wasn't Derek. By the second night, at 3 a.m, I realized I couldn't tough this out. The pain had reached unbearable levels. I was having trouble taking even shallow breaths. What if Derek had done more damage than I thought? What if my lung was punctured and I didn't know it yet? What if I was bleeding internally? I drove myself to an urgent care clinic on the other side of town, one far from the hospital where I worked. But when I arrived, a handwritten sign on the door read, "Closed due to emergency. Water damage." Below it, someone had added, "Nearest facility, County General Hospital." I sat in my car in the empty parking lot and cried. I couldn't go to County General. Everyone knew me there. Everyone knew Derek. Linda volunteered there. The story would spread before I made it out of the waiting room. Derek's arrest would be in the papers by morning. His scholarship would be revoked. His life would be over. And it would be my fault for speaking up, instead of staying quiet, like a good sister should. I sat there for 30 minutes, weighing my pain against Derek's future, my safety against family loyalty, my truth against Mom's desperate pleas. Then I started my car and drove for another 30 minutes, across county lines, to a small family practice clinic I had found online. Dr. Elizabeth Sullivan's office was in a strip mall between a pizza place and a dry cleaner. It looked ordinary, forgettable, anonymous, perfect. The next morning, I checked in at Dr. Sullivan's office, under my own name. No reason to hide. No one here knew me or my family. The waiting room was small and plain, with outdated magazines and uncomfortable chairs. A handful of other patients sat waiting, none of them paying any attention to me. I filled out the new patient forms with shaking hands, my fingers cramping from the effort. Every movement hurt. When I reached the question about how I injured myself, I paused. The pen hovered over the paper. What would I write? The truth? A lie? I left it blank. 20 minutes later, a nurse called my name. She was young, friendly, chatty, as she took my vital signs. My blood pressure was elevated, pulse racing, signs of pain and stress. She didn't comment, just recorded the numbers efficiently. "The doctor will be right in," she said with a smile, then left me alone in the examination room. I sat on the paper-covered table, surrounded by anatomical posters and jars of cotton swabs. The room smelled like antiseptic and the faint odor of the pizza place next door. Ordinary. Safe. No one here knew about Derek's scholarship or Mom's plans, or the weight of family expectations crushing me. Dr. Sullivan entered a few minutes later. She was in her mid-50s, with gray-streaked brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. She wore simple scrubs and comfortable shoes. Everything about her radiated calm competence. "Hello, Randy. I'm Dr. Sullivan." She shook my hand gently, as if sensing that anything more might hurt. "What brings you in today?" The question I had been dreading. The moment I would have to decide between truth and lies. "I'm having trouble breathing," I said carefully. "Chest pain. On my left side, mostly." Dr. Sullivan nodded, pulling out her stethoscope. "How long has this been going on?" 2 days. "Did something happen? An injury? An accident?" There was that word again. Accident. The safe word. The word that made violence sound innocent. "I fell," I heard myself say, "down the stairs at home." Dr. Sullivan listened to my heart and lungs, her face professionally neutral. "Take a deep breath for me." I tried. Pain shot through me, stopping me halfway. I gasped. "Can't breathe deeply?" I shook my head. "I'd like to examine your ribs. May I lift your shirt?" I nodded, unable to speak. This was it. The moment the evidence would be visible, Dr. Sullivan gently lifted the hem of my shirt, and I heard her small intake of breath. The bruises had spread and darkened overnight. They covered my entire left side now, wrapping around from my spine to my sternum, angry purple and black and green. The doctor's hands were gentle as she palpated my ribs, checking each one carefully. I winced when she reached the broken ones, tears springing to my eyes. "I need to get x-rays," Dr. Sullivan said quietly. "We have the equipment here. I'll have my technician set that up right away." 20 minutes later, after several painful minutes of positioning for the x-rays, I was back in the examination room. Dr. Sullivan returned with films in hand. She clipped them to the light board and pointed. 3 broken ribs. Here, here, and here. Fortunately, they haven't punctured your lung, but they're displaced. You're in significant pain, I imagine. Yes. Dr. Sullivan turned off the light board and sat down on the rolling stool, positioning herself at my eye level. Her gaze was steady, searching. "Randy, those bruises, the pattern of injury, that didn't come from falling downstairs." My prepared lie died in my throat. Something about the way she looked at me, without judgment or assumption, just patient waiting, cracked something inside me. "How did this really happen?" she asked softly. Silence stretched between us. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking, the muffled sounds of the pizza place next door, my own rapid heartbeat. "I fell," I whispered, but the lie sounded hollow even to me. Dr. Sullivan waited. Just waited. She didn't push, didn't accuse, didn't fill the silence with her own assumptions. She just sat there, present and patient, giving me space to choose. And in that space, I broke. The truth spilled out in a rush of words and tears. I told her about Derek, the theft, the confrontation, the shove into the wall. About Mom's pleas to stay quiet, her prioritization of Derek's football future over my broken ribs. About feeling invisible and worthless my entire life. About being so alone that I waited 2 days before seeking medical help because I didn't want to ruin my brother's scholarship. Dr. Sullivan listened to all of it without interrupting. When I finally fell silent, exhausted from crying and talking, she handed me a box of tissues. "Randy," she said gently, "you've experienced assault. Your brother assaulted you and caused serious bodily harm. Your mother is asking you to cover up a crime. But his future," I said automatically, Mom's words in my mouth. "His future doesn't matter more than your safety, your life, your well-being." Dr. Sullivan's voice was firm but compassionate. "You're a nurse. You know that violence escalates. This won't be the last time if he faces no consequences. I can't report him. Mom will never forgive me. The whole town will hate me. Derek's scholarship, his NFL chances, everything will be destroyed. You're describing the perfect conditions for abuse to continue," Dr. Sullivan said. "The victim stays silent to protect the abuser. The family prioritizes the abuser's future over the victim's present. The community's investment in the abuser's success becomes more important than justice. This is how it perpetuates." I knew she was right. I had seen it in the ER, treated countless domestic violence victims, encouraged them to report, to seek protection. But that was different. Those were other people, other families, not mine. "Randy, I need you to understand something." Dr. Sullivan leaned forward. "I'm a mandatory reporter. When I see evidence of assault, I'm legally required to report it. That law exists to protect people exactly like you." Panic flared in my chest. "No, please, you can't. I have to. But more importantly, I want to. Because you deserve protection. You deserve justice. You deserve to be safe. My family will fall apart. Your family is already broken if your mother asks you to accept violence for your brother's benefit." The words hit me like a physical blow because they were true. Dr. Sullivan stood up and moved to her desk. "I'm going to make 2 phone calls. One to Adult Protective Services, one to the police. You're not alone anymore. You're safe now. A promise. Please?" I begged one more time, but my heart wasn't in it anymore. Part of me, a part I had been suppressing for 2 days, felt relief. Dr. Sullivan picked up her phone and dialed. "Yes, this is Dr. Elizabeth Sullivan calling from my practice. I need to report a case of assault with serious bodily injury." As she spoke, giving my information, describing my injuries, I felt something shift inside me. Terror and relief warred in my chest. What had I done? What was about to happen? 20 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived at the clinic. Detective Sarah Morrison was in her 40s, with sharp eyes and an air of having seen everything. Officer Chris Bradley was younger, taking notes while Detective Morrison asked questions. They photographed my bruises from every angle, took copies of my x-rays, had me describe the assault in detail, recorded my statement, asked about my relationship with Derek, any history of violence, any previous incidents. I told them everything. Once I started, I couldn't stop. Years of covering for Derek came pouring out. The high school girlfriend who accused him of assault, paid off by Mom to drop charges. The DUI at 19 that mysteriously disappeared from his record. The stolen money, the pattern of Mom protecting him at all costs. Detective Morrison's expression grew grimmer with each detail. When I finished, she said something that made my blood run cold. "Your brother has a record. This isn't his first assault. There are 2 other reports filed against him, both withdrawn before prosecution. The room tilted. What? A woman named Ashley Grant reported him 3 years ago for assault. Another woman, Taylor Brooks, reported him 18 months ago. Both cases were dropped before they went anywhere. But the reports are still in the system. I wasn't Derek's first victim, just the first one who couldn't keep quiet because a doctor made the choice for me. We'll be arresting your brother today, Detective Morrison said. Assault causing serious bodily harm is a felony. Given his size and strength compared to yours, given the severity of your injuries, given his history, the prosecutor will likely pursue significant charges. Today? My voice came out small. Yes. We need to act quickly before he has a chance to flee or destroy evidence. Where is he likely to be right now? I checked my phone. It was Wednesday afternoon. Football practice. At the university field. Detective Morrison stood. Then that's where we'll find him. After they left, Dr. Sullivan prescribed pain medication, gave me instructions for caring for broken ribs, and scheduled a follow-up appointment. But before I left, she took both my hands in hers. You did the right thing, she said firmly. It might not feel like it yet. It might feel like your world is ending. But you did the right thing. Violence is never acceptable, no matter who the perpetrator is or how bright their future seems. Your safety matters. Your truth matters. You matter. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. I drove home in a daze, the prescription bottle rattling on my passenger seat. My phone started buzzing before I even made it back to my apartment. I didn't answer. I knew what was coming. The storm was about to break. The police arrested Derek at football practice at 4:15 that afternoon. I wasn't there, but I heard about it within minutes. News travels fast in a small town. Faster when it involves the star athlete being led away in handcuffs in front of his entire team, his coaches, and the 5 NFL scouts who had come to watch him practice. My phone exploded. Calls, texts, voicemails piling up so fast I couldn't keep track. I turned the ringer off and watched the screen light up over and over, name after name appearing. Mom, Aunt Patricia, Cousin James, Uncle Robert. Numbers I didn't recognize. And again, Mom. Finally, I answered one of her calls. What have you done? Mom's voice was a scream, raw and anguished. What have you done to this family? He broke my ribs, I said quietly. It was an accident. You know it was an accident. And now you've destroyed everything. Everything. The scouts left. The coaches are furious. His scholarship is being reviewed. Derek's entire future is gone. Gone. Because you couldn't keep your mouth shut about a little accident. 3 broken ribs isn't a little accident, Mom. You selfish, vindictive, jealous little witch. You've always hated that Derek was special, that he was going somewhere while you stayed stuck in this town as a nobody nurse. So you decided to drag him down with you. You decided to ruin his life because yours is so pathetic. Each word was a knife. But I had been cut by Mom's words before. I had scar tissue. Derek assaulted me. He committed a crime. He's your brother. Family doesn't destroy family. But you never cared about family, did you? You only care about yourself. I will never forgive you for this. Never. You're dead to me. She hung up. I sat staring at my phone, Mom's words ringing in my ears. Dead to me. As if I had ever really been alive to her. The texts were worse. Cousins, aunts, uncles, family friends, all of them saying variations of the same thing. How could I do this to Derek? Didn't I understand what I had destroyed? Why was I so selfish? Derek was a good kid who made one mistake, and I had ruined his entire life over it. Not one person asked if I was okay. Not one person acknowledged that Derek had hurt me. In their narrative, I was the villain, the jealous sister who tore down the golden boy out of spite. By evening, it was all over social media. Derek's teammates created posts defending him. Number Justice for Derek started trending locally. Comments poured in from people I had never met, calling me a liar, attention seeker, Gold digger trying to get money from Derek's future NFL contract. Local news picked up the story. Star linebacker arrested on assault charges. The comments section filled rapidly. Most defended Derek. How could his own sister do this to him? She's probably lying for attention. Innocent until proven guilty. Don't destroy a young man's life over allegations. A few comments supported me, but they were drowned out by the tide of Derek's defenders. I had to take a full week off work. Not just because of the pain, but because I couldn't face people. My supervisor Barbara was understanding, but even she sounded uncertain on the phone, as if wondering whether she should believe me or the narrative painting me as a vindictive liar. Jenny came to my apartment that evening with groceries and dinner. She let herself in with the spare key I had given her months ago and found me curled on the couch, staring at nothing. "Oh, Randy." She set down the bags and sat beside me carefully, not touching me in case it hurt. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Everyone hates me," I whispered. "Not everyone. I don't. I believe you. What he did was wrong. His life is over because of me. No, his life is changed because of his own actions. He hurt you. That's on him, not you." But it didn't feel that way. It felt like I had detonated a bomb in the middle of my family and watched the debris fly. Derek made bail within hours. Mom had mortgaged her house to hire Marcus Dalton, the most expensive defense attorney in the region. Marcus Dalton was famous for getting wealthy clients acquitted, for tearing apart prosecution cases, for making victims look like liars. The next day, Derek gave an interview to the local news station. I watched it on my laptop, Jenny sitting beside me for support. Derek looked perfect. He wore a button-down shirt and khakis, his hair neat, his expression earnest and wounded. He had mastered the art of looking like the victim. "This is the hardest thing I've ever been through," he told the reporter, his voice cracking slightly. "My own sister, someone I love, someone I've protected my whole life, has accused me of something I didn't do. We had a disagreement. She was upset about something, I don't even remember what. We argued. She lost her balance and fell. It was an accident. Just an accident." The reporter nodded sympathetically. "Your sister claims you deliberately pushed her into a wall, causing serious injury." Derek's eyes filled with tears. Actual tears. I had never seen him cry in my life, but now, in front of cameras, he produced tears on command. "She's always had issues with me. Jealousy, I think. Our mom gave me opportunities, supported my football career, and Randy resented it. She's made comments before about how I got everything handed to me while she had to work for everything. I think this is her way of getting back at me, of hurting me by destroying my future." "That's not true," I said to my empty living room, but the words felt hollow. "I love my sister," Derek continued, wiping his eyes. "I pray she gets the help she needs. And I pray people will see the truth. I would never hurt her. Never. This is all a terrible misunderstanding." The interview went viral. Thousands of people shared it with comments like, "This poor young man and his sister should be ashamed," and "False accusations ruin lives." My apartment wasn't safe anymore either. Someone found out where I lived. 3 days after Derek's arrest, I came home from a quick trip to the pharmacy to find liar spray painted across my door in massive red letters. Building management was furious, said I had to pay to have it removed and repainted. I started receiving threatening phone calls at all hours. Unknown numbers calling to tell me I was a liar, a horrible person, that I should be ashamed. Some were crude and sexual, men telling me what I deserved. I changed my number, but somehow they got the new one within days. Detective Morrison called to check on me. She said this was typical in cases like mine, especially when the accused was popular or prominent in the community. She offered resources, victim advocacy services, protection orders, counseling. I met with a victim advocate named Grace Patterson, a woman in her 30s who specialized in supporting assault survivors through the legal process. Grace explained what would happen next. Derek's arraignment, possible plea negotiations, potentially a trial. She warned me that defense attorneys like Marcus Dalton were skilled at making victims feel like they were the ones on trial. "He'll try to tear apart your character," Grace said gently. "Make you seem unreliable, jealous, vindictive. That's his job. But remember, the evidence is on your side. Medical records don't lie. X-rays don't lie. The pattern of bruising tells a story. But would anyone listen to that story? Or would they only hear Derek's version, the one where he was the victim and I was the villain?" 4 days after Derek's arrest, a courier delivered a thick envelope to my apartment. Inside was a lawsuit. Derek was suing me for defamation. $5 million in damages for false accusations that destroyed his reputation and athletic career. $5 million. I made $50,000 a year as a nurse. I would never have that kind of money. If he won, I would be financially ruined forever. But it got worse. Much worse. The lawsuit included a motion to have my nursing license suspended pending investigation. It claimed I was mentally unstable, a danger to patients, unfit to practice medicine. Marcus Dalton had included affidavits from people claiming I had always been unbalanced, jealous, prone to dramatic accusations. If I lost my license, I lost everything. My career, my income, my identity, everything I had worked for, everything I had built on my own without family help, would be destroyed. Jenny found me on the floor of my apartment, the lawsuit papers scattered around me, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. The broken ribs made it worse, each sob sending fresh pain through my chest. "He's going to destroy me," I gasped. "He's going to take everything." No, he's not." Jenny pulled out her phone. "We're getting you a lawyer, right now. I can't afford Marcus Dalton's kind of lawyer. We'll find someone. There are organizations that help people like you. Legal aid, nonprofits. We'll figure this out." But as I sat surrounded by the wreckage of my life, I wondered if there was anything left to figure out. Derek had the best lawyer money could buy, the support of the entire town, the sympathy of thousands of strangers online. He had Mom's money, her connections, her willingness to do anything to protect him. I had broken ribs, a defamation lawsuit, threats to my career and my safety. I had Jenny, and a doctor I had met once, and a victim advocate who was paid to help me. It didn't feel like enough. Mom called one more time that week. Her voice was cold, controlled, nothing like her earlier hysteria. "Drop the charges, Randy. Drop them now, before this goes any further." "No. Derek has the best lawyer in the state. Marcus Dalton doesn't lose. He will tear you apart in court. He will make you look like a lying, attention-seeking, mentally unstable fraud. Every mistake you've ever made, every bad moment in your life, will be exposed and twisted. Is that what you want?" "I want justice." "There is no justice here. Only destruction. Derek's life is already damaged, but it can be repaired if you drop this now. If you don't, Marcus will destroy you completely. You'll lose your job, your license, your reputation. You'll be bankrupt. You'll have nothing and no one." "Is that a threat?" "It's reality. Drop the charges, or we'll take everything you have. Derek has resources you can't imagine. We've already spent $30,000 on his defense, and we're just getting started." "How much can you spend, Randy? How long can you fight?" She hung up before I could answer. I sat in the dark, listening to the silence, feeling the weight of her words. How long could I fight? How much could I endure? And was telling the truth really worth losing everything? Detective Morrison connected me with a nonprofit legal organization that specialized in assault cases. 2 days later, I sat in a small office across from Amanda Walsh, an attorney in her early 40s, with sharp eyes and an air of barely controlled fury on behalf of her clients. Amanda reviewed my case for 20 minutes while I sat in silence, exhausted beyond words. Finally, she looked up. "This is textbook slap," she said flatly. "Strategic lawsuit against public participation. Your brother is using civil litigation to intimidate you into dropping criminal charges. It's unethical. It's disgusting. and it happens all the time. Can he win? The defamation suit? No. Truth is an absolute defense against defamation, and you're telling the truth. The medical evidence proves it. His pattern of behavior supports it. But Marcus Dalton knows he'll probably lose the civil suit eventually. That's not the point. Then what is? The point is to exhaust you. Financially, emotionally, psychologically. Civil suits are expensive and time-consuming. Most victims can't afford to fight them, so they drop the criminal charges to make the civil suit go away. It's legal blackmail. So what do? We fight. I'll take your case pro bono. We'll file a motion to dismiss the defamation suit, argue it's a slap, seek sanctions against Derek and his attorney for frivolous litigation. As for the motion against your nursing license, we'll fight that too. It's baseless retaliation, and the nursing board will see that. Hope, small and fragile, stirred in my chest. You think we can win? I know we can. The evidence is on your side, Randy. Medical records, photographs, x-rays, witness testimony from Dr. Sullivan. Derek's attorney can spin all he wants, but facts are facts. Over the next week, Amanda worked fast. She filed responses to all of Derek's motions, submitted briefs arguing against the defamation suit, presented evidence to the nursing board showing the suspension request was retaliatory. She was brilliant and fierce. Everything I needed but couldn't be for myself. Meanwhile, the criminal case moved forward. The prosecutor, Assistant District Attorney James Hartley, was young but determined. He met with me in his office, going over my statement, preparing me for what came next. Marcus Dalton is already pushing for a plea deal, James told me. Anger management classes, probation, no jail time. He's arguing Derek is a first-time offender with a promising future who made one mistake. But he's not a first-time offender, I said. Detective Morrison told me about the other reports. Those cases were withdrawn before charges were filed. Legally, Derek has no criminal record. That works in his favor. So he gets away with it? Again? James leaned forward, his expression intense. Not if I have anything to say about it. This case is strong, Randy. Really strong. Medical evidence doesn't lie. The severity of your injuries speaks for itself. If we go to trial, I believe we can win a conviction. But trials are risky. Juries are unpredictable, especially in small towns where the defendant is beloved. What do you think I should do? That's not my decision. It's yours. But I want you to know, I'm willing to take this to trial if you are. Derek needs to face consequences for what he did to you. I looked at this young prosecutor, barely 30 years old, willing to fight for me against one of the most powerful defense attorneys in the state. I thought about Dr. Sullivan, who reported my assault despite my protests, about Amanda Walsh, working pro bono to defend me, about Jenny, bringing me groceries and sitting with me in the dark, about Detective Morrison, taking my statement seriously when she could have dismissed it. I had more allies than I thought. Maybe enough. Let's fight, I said. Amanda dug deeper into Derek's history, searching for anything that might help. What she found changed everything. Randy, I need you to sit down, Amanda said when she called me a week later. I found something. Actually, I found someone. No. The word came out too sharp, too panicked. I mean, no, don't. It's contagious. I don't want you to catch it. Even more damning. Kayla's roommate had recorded a voicemail Derek left afterward, threatening Kayla to keep quiet. The roommate had kept the recording all this time, just in case. I need you to listen to this, Amanda said, playing the audio over the phone. Derek's voice came through, unmistakable and chilling. Kayla, you need to forget what happened. If you say anything to anyone, my friends and I will make your life hell. No one will believe you anyway. I'm Derek Patterson, star linebacker. You're just some random girl at a party. Think about what happens if you try to go up against me. Just let it go, and we'll all be fine. I felt sick. This was who my brother really was. Not the golden boy everyone saw, but a predator who hurt women and threatened them into silence. She told me about Kayla Preston, a woman who Derek had assaulted 18 months ago during his junior year at college. Kayla never reported it because Derek's friends had threatened her, said no one would believe her over the star linebacker. But Kayla had been hospitalized for her injuries. The medical records still existed. Taylor Brooks came to Amanda's office the next day. I was there too, at Amanda's request. Taylor was 24, a graduate student in biology, with dark circles under her eyes that spoke of sleepless nights. Derek and I dated briefly when he was a sophomore, Taylor told us. I broke up with him because he was controlling. He didn't take it well. Showed up at my apartment drunk one night, forced his way in. When I told him to leave, he grabbed me by the throat and slammed me against the wall. I thought he was going to kill me. Her story was horrifyingly similar to mine. The violence, the threats, the fear. I reported it to campus police, Taylor continued. They took my statement, started an investigation. Then Marcus Dalton showed up at my work. Told me if I pursued charges, he would destroy my reputation. Said Derek's family had resources and connections I couldn't imagine. Said it would be my word against Derek's, and everyone loved Derek. Who would believe me? And you dropped it, I said quietly. I was terrified. And then Derek's mother came to see me. Taylor's voice shook. She offered me $10,000 to drop the charges. Said it would ruin Derek's life if I didn't. Said he was young and made a mistake but had such a bright future. She cried and begged. And I was a broke college student drowning in debt, and $10,000 seemed like a lot of money. So I took it and signed a non-disclosure agreement, and felt ashamed every day since. You were a victim who was manipulated, Amanda said firmly. That's not your fault. When I heard Derek assaulted his own sister, I knew I had to say something. Taylor looked at me, her eyes brimming with tears. I'm so sorry I didn't stop him before he got to you. This isn't your fault, I said, echoing Amanda's words. None of this is your fault. With Taylor's testimony, Kayla's medical records, and the threatening voicemail, the case against Derek became much stronger. 3 victims with similar stories of violence and intimidation, a pattern of behavior that couldn't be dismissed as accidents or misunderstandings. James Hartley was thrilled. This changes everything. Juries understand patterns. 1 victim, defense can claim it's he said, she said. 3 victims with documented injuries and threats? That's impossible to dismiss. But strengthening the case had consequences. Derek realized he was facing serious prison time, and desperate people do desperate things. It started with anonymous text messages from burner phones. You should have stayed quiet. Everyone you love will pay. This is just the beginning. I showed them to Detective Morrison, who documented everything and filed for a restraining order. But before it could be processed, something happened that made my blood run cold. Jenny called me at 2 a.m, her voice hysterical. Randy, someone broke into my apartment. Everything is destroyed. My laptop, my TV, my dishes, everything smashed. And they spray painted something on my wall. What did they paint? This is your fault, Randy. In huge red letters. They did this because of you. I drove to Jenny's apartment, arriving at the same time as the police. The destruction was extensive and deliberate. Not a robbery, but a message. Someone had spent time destroying everything Jenny owned, room by room, and left that message painted across her living room wall. Jenny stood in her destroyed home, crying, while police took photographs. She looked at me with fear in her eyes. Not fear of me, but fear because of me. I'm so sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. This isn't your fault, Jenny said, but her voice shook. Police couldn't prove Derek was involved. He had an alibi, was at a study group at the university library with witnesses. But I knew he was behind it, even if he didn't do it himself. He had friends, teammates, people who would do anything for him. The message was clear. Anyone close to me was a target. Derek would hurt the people I loved to punish me for speaking up. Jenny stayed with her parents that night. The next day, she called me. Randy, I want to support you. but I'm scared. Maybe you should consider dropping the charges. For everyone's safety." Her words hit me like a physical blow. Derek was winning. He was isolating me, making me seem toxic, dangerous to be near, and it was working. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my phone, considering surrender. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe fighting was only making things worse. Maybe I should drop everything, move away, start over somewhere else where nobody knew the Patterson family. Then Amanda called. "Randy, I have more news. We've been investigating your mother's finances." "Why?" "Pattern evidence. We wanted to show that Linda has a history of paying off Derek's victims, that there's a coordinated cover-up. What we found is bigger than we expected. Linda had been embezzling money from her real estate firm. Over 2 years, she had stolen more than $200,000 to cover Derek's legal problems, pay off victims, fund his lifestyle, and maintain her own spending. The firm's accountants were doing an audit and would discover it soon. Your mother is going to be charged with embezzlement, Amanda said. The firm is pressing charges. This is going to come out during Derek's trial. It shows a pattern of the family covering up his crimes at any cost. I should have felt vindicated, but instead I felt hollow. My family was disintegrating. Mom would go to prison, Derek would go to prison, and I would be left alone with the ruins. There's something else, Amanda said hesitantly. We found emails between Derek and your mother. They were planning this, Randy. The harassment, the intimidation, attacking your friends. It was a coordinated strategy to make you drop the charges. The betrayal went deeper than I imagined. This wasn't just Derek retaliating. It was Derek and Mom working together, deliberately trying to destroy my life. Detective Morrison is filing additional charges, Amanda continued. Witness intimidation, conspiracy, harassment. These are serious crimes. But before any of those charges could be processed, Linda made one final, desperate move. She went to every news station in the region and gave interviews claiming I was the abuser, that I had been stealing from her for years, physically threatening Derek, and now falsely accusing him to cover my own crimes. She cried on camera, played the victim, showed bank statements she claimed proved I had taken money from her. The statements were fake, but convincing. She was fighting for her son's freedom and her own, and she would say anything, do anything, destroy anyone to win. My phone exploded again with threats and accusations. The brief shift in public opinion reversed. Now I was not just Derek's jealous sister, but an abusive thief, falsely accusing her innocent brother. Everything I had built, every ally I had gained, every inch of progress Amanda and James had made, seemed to crumble in the face of Linda's lies. I sat in my apartment, surrounded by hate messages, watching my life implode, and wondered if the truth mattered at all, or if Derek and Mom would simply outlast me, overwhelm me, drown me in lies until nobody remembered what was real. The next 2 weeks were the worst of my life. Linda's media campaign was relentless and effective. She appeared on local news every few days with new accusations, each more elaborate than the last. I had supposedly stolen her credit cards, forged her signature on checks, drained her savings account. Never mind that none of it was true. Never mind that I could prove I hadn't touched her money. The damage was done with each headline, each shared social media post, each comment calling me a criminal. The nursing board opened an investigation into the accusations against me, not because they believed them, but because they had to follow protocol when complaints were filed. I was placed on administrative leave from County General Hospital pending the investigation's outcome. Not fired, they assured me, just temporarily suspended while things were sorted out. But temporarily might as well have been permanently. I had no income, bills piling up, legal fees even with Amanda's pro bono work. My savings were gone, burned through in the weeks since Derek's arrest. I applied for unemployment benefits, food assistance, anything to keep me afloat. Jenny called less frequently. She was staying with her parents while her apartment was being repaired, and I could hear the strain in her voice when we spoke. She still supported me, still believed me, but the fear was there. Derek had reached her once. He could reach her again. I was toxic. Poison. Anyone who got close to me got hurt. Taylor Brooks and Kayla Preston were wavering too. Marcus Dalton's investigators had started digging into their lives, looking for anything to discredit them. Taylor called Amanda in tears, saying she couldn't handle the scrutiny, the way people at her graduate program were looking at her, whispering about her. Kayla sent an email saying she was considering withdrawing her statement. Derek's trial was scheduled to begin in 1 week. James Hartley called me into his office for a pre-trial meeting. He looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes matching mine. Marcus Dalton has made another plea offer, James said. Simple assault, reduced charge. Derek pleads guilty, gets probation and anger management classes. No jail time. Absolutely not. Randy, I need you to understand something. This trial is going to be brutal. Dalton will put you on trial instead of Derek. He'll bring up every difficult moment in your life, every mistake, every vulnerability. He'll paint you as unstable, vindictive, lying. The jury pool is local, and Derek is beloved here. We could lose. We could also win. Yes. But if we lose, Derek walks away with no consequences at all. At least with a guilty plea, there's an admission of wrongdoing on his record. It's not perfect justice, but it's something. I stared at this prosecutor who had worked so hard for me, who believed in my case, and saw the defeat creeping into his eyes. The system was supposed to protect victims, but the system ran on money and power and public opinion, and Derek had all three. I need to think about it, I said. That night, Linda showed up at my apartment. I hadn't seen her in person since the night Derek assaulted me. She had aged in those weeks, her face drawn and pale, but her eyes were hard with determination. Randy, we need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Please, 5 minutes. That's all I ask. Against my better judgment, I let her in. She stood in my living room, taking in my sparse furniture, my empty walls where I hadn't bothered to hang anything after moving in 2 years ago. The apartment looked as hollow as I felt. Derek will plead guilty to simple assault, Linda said, without preamble. No trial. He'll pay your medical bills, court costs, everything. Probation instead of jail. In exchange, you drop your cooperation with the investigation into me. You don't testify about Derek threatening you or destroying your friend's apartment. Clean slate for everyone. Clean slate? I laughed bitterly. You've spent the last month destroying my reputation. You've cost me my job. You've isolated me from everyone I care about. And now you want a clean slate? I did what I had to do to protect my son. Your son assaulted me. Your son has assaulted multiple women. Your son is a violent criminal who belongs in prison. Linda's composure cracked. Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment, she looked genuinely broken. Randy, I'm dying. The words hung in the air between us. What? Cancer. Stage 4. The doctors say I have months, maybe a year if I'm lucky. She pulled out her phone, showed me medical documents that looked official. Oncology reports, treatment plans, grim prognoses. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Mom, Derek is all I have. When I'm gone, he'll be alone. I won't be here to protect him anymore, to guide him, to help him. Please, Randy, I know I've failed you. I know I've chosen him over you your entire life. I know I'm a terrible mother to you. But please, don't send him to prison. Don't let him waste his life locked away. Let him have a chance to change, to grow up, to become better, for me. Because I'm dying, and I'm begging you. He's my son. Every word was designed to manipulate me, to prey on my guilt and my lingering love for the woman who gave birth to me, even if she never really mothered me. She was asking me to sacrifice justice for family loyalty one final time, to put Derek's future ahead of my present, just like always. She was asking me to stay quiet, just like that night in the driveway. Stay quiet because Derek has a future. Stay quiet because family doesn't destroy family. Stay quiet because speaking up makes you the bad guy. I looked at my mother, this woman who had protected my abuser at every turn, who had paid off his victims, who had embezzled money to fund his legal defenses, who had launched a media campaign to destroy me, rather than hold him accountable. This woman who was now playing her final card, guilt over her impending death. I thought about accepting the deal, about ending this nightmare, about moving far away, and starting over where nobody knew the Patterson name. Then my phone rang. Amanda Walsh. Randy, don't agree to anything with your mother. I'm coming over right now. 20 minutes. Linda's expression shifted, became guarded. Who was that? My attorney. Randy, please. Before she gets here, tell me you'll consider the deal. For me. Because I'm your mother and I'm dying. Amanda arrived in 15 minutes, Detective Morrison with her. They burst into my apartment with the energy of people bearing crucial news. Linda, you need to leave, Amanda said firmly. I'm having a private conversation with my daughter. No, you're attempting witness tampering, which is a crime. Leave now, or I'll have Detective Morrison arrest you. Linda looked at me one more time, her eyes pleading, then walked out without another word. After she left, Amanda turned to me. Randy, your mother lied to you. We've been investigating her medical claims. She does have cancer, but it's early stage, highly treatable. Her prognosis is excellent. 5-year survival rate over 90%. She's not dying in months. She lied to manipulate you into dropping charges against Derek. The betrayal hit me like a tsunami. Even now, even facing her own criminal charges, Linda was lying to protect Derek. She had used a real diagnosis, exaggerated it into a death sentence, weaponized it against me. There's more, Detective Morrison said. We obtained warrants for Derek and Linda's email accounts and phones. The harassment, the destruction of Jenny's apartment, all of it was planned. We have emails between them discussing which of your friends to target, how to make you look unstable, strategies to force you to drop charges. The vandalism at Jenny's place was done by Derek's teammate, paid $500 by Linda. We have proof. Amanda pulled out printed emails, showed me the evidence. Message after message of my brother and mother conspiring to destroy my life. Cold, calculated, deliberate. Nothing accidental about any of it. Linda is being charged with witness intimidation, conspiracy to commit harassment, and embezzlement, Detective Morrison said. Derek is facing additional charges beyond the assault. Witness intimidation, conspiracy, criminal mischief. These are serious crimes, Randy. They're looking at significant prison time, both of them. I should have felt victorious, vindicated. Instead, I felt numb. My family had imploded completely. Mom would go to prison. Derek would go to prison. And I would be left alone, the sole survivor of the Patterson family's self-destruction. But alone was better than silent. Alone was better than complicit. Alone was better than protecting abusers at the cost of my own safety and sanity. No deal, I said. We go to trial. Both of them face full consequences. Amanda smiled grimly. Good. Because James Hartley already rejected their plea offer. Derek's going to trial next week. Linda's trial will follow after. That night, Linda tried one last desperate move. She went on every local news station and claimed I had been physically and emotionally abusing her for years, that everything she did was self-defense against my violence, that I was a dangerous, unstable person who had manipulated everyone. But this time, her lies didn't stick. Amanda and James had prepared for this, had evidence ready. They released carefully selected portions of the emails showing Linda's coordination with Derek, her payments to his teammate to vandalize Jenny's apartment, her embezzlement from her firm. They released Taylor Brooks's original police report, Kayla Preston's hospital records, the threatening voicemail from Derek. The media narrative shifted. Articles appeared questioning Linda's credibility, examining Derek's pattern of violence. asking why the Patterson family had gotten away with so much for so long. Public opinion, fickle and swift, turned. Comment sections filled with people apologizing to me, condemning Derek and Linda, demanding justice. It was too little, too late. The damage to my life was already done, but at least now people were starting to see the truth. The week before trial, I sat in my empty apartment and took stock of my life. No job, no family, no savings, friends who loved me but were scared of me, a future uncertain and frightening. But I was still here, still standing, still fighting, and that had to count for something. The trial began on a cold Monday morning in November. I sat in the courtroom behind the prosecutor's table, watching jury selection, feeling like I was watching my life be dissected by strangers. 12 people who would decide whether Derek's assault on me was a crime or just an unfortunate family dispute. James Hartley was prepared and precise. His opening statement laid out the facts clearly. Derek Patterson violently assaulted his sister, causing serious bodily harm, 3 broken ribs, extensive bruising, documented by medical professionals, a pattern of violence toward women, supported by testimony from previous victims, a family conspiracy to cover up crimes and intimidate witnesses. Marcus Dalton's opening was smoother, more emotional. He painted Derek as a young man under tremendous pressure, who lost his temper once, who never intended to seriously hurt anyone, whose entire future was being destroyed over an accident. He painted me as a jealous sister with mental health issues who exaggerated a family argument into false criminal charges. The trial lasted 3 days. James called witnesses methodically, building his case piece by piece. Dr. Sullivan testified about my injuries, about the pattern of bruising inconsistent with a fall. The X-rays were displayed for the jury, showing the clean breaks of my ribs. Medical experts explained that injuries like mine required significant force, not an accidental bump or loss of balance. Taylor Brooks took the stand. Her hands shook as she described Derek's assault on her, his threats afterward, Linda's payment to drop charges. Marcus Dalton tried to tear her apart on cross-examination, suggested she made up her story for attention, for money. But Taylor held firm, her voice steady, even as tears streamed down her face. Derek Patterson hurt me, she said clearly. He threatened me, and his family paid me to stay quiet. I took the money because I was scared and broke, but I've regretted it every day since. When I heard he did the same thing to his own sister, I knew I had to tell the truth. Kayla Preston testified next, and her testimony was devastating. She played the voicemail recording of Derek threatening her. The jury listened to Derek's voice, cold and menacing, warning Kayla to keep quiet or face consequences. Several jurors looked visibly disturbed. Detective Morrison testified about the emails between Derek and Linda, about their coordinated harassment campaign. The destruction of Jenny's apartment, paid for by Linda, carried out by Derek's teammate. Then, it was my turn. James walked me through that night step by step. The confrontation in the driveway, Derek's denial, the argument, his hands on my shoulders, the violent shove, the impact against the brick wall, the sound of my ribs breaking. Linda's desperate pleas to stay quiet. "Why did you wait 2 days to seek medical treatment?" James asked. "Because my mother begged me not to ruin Derek's future. Because I knew if I reported what he did, his scholarship would be gone. His NFL dreams would be over. And I had spent my entire life trying to be the good daughter, the one who didn't cause problems. I was more worried about protecting Derek's future than I was about my own broken ribs." What changed? The pain became unbearable. And I realized that Derek's future isn't more important than my safety. That staying quiet to protect someone who hurt me was wrong. That I mattered, even if my family never made me feel like I did. Marcus Dalton's cross-examination was brutal, exactly as James had warned. He questioned my memory of events, suggested I exaggerated my injuries, brought up every difficult moment in my life. A poor grade in college, a patient complaint at work that was later dismissed, an argument with an ex-boyfriend 3 years ago. "Isn't it true that you've always resented your brother's success?" Dalton asked. No. I resented being invisible. There's a difference. Isn't it true that you saw an opportunity to hurt Derek and took it? No. I reported a crime that Derek committed. He hurt me. I didn't hurt him. The hardest moment came when Dalton showed the jury social media posts, comments people had made supporting Derek, calling me a liar. He made it seem like public opinion mattered more than medical evidence. But James countered on redirect, bringing the focus back to facts. X-rays, photographs, medical records, police reports, emails, voicemails, evidence that couldn't be argued away. Derek testified in his own defense. He was polished and sympathetic, claiming everything was an accident, that he loved his sister and never meant to hurt her. He cried on the stand, apologized to me directly. "I'm so sorry, Randy," he said, looking at me with wet eyes. "I never meant for any of this to happen. I just wish we could go back to being a family. It was a good performance, but that's all it was. A performance." James destroyed him on cross-examination. "Mr. Patterson, you claim this was an accident. How do you accidentally break someone's ribs? It was just a push. I didn't mean for her to hit the wall that hard. But you did push her, deliberately, using your full strength, against someone 7 inches shorter and 100 pounds lighter than you. I was upset. It was heat of the moment. Like when you assaulted Taylor Brooks? Also heat of the moment? That was different. That was a misunderstanding. Like when you threatened Kayla Preston on voicemail? Also a misunderstanding?" Derek's composure cracked. He became defensive, argumentative. The jury saw glimpses of the real Derek, the angry man hiding beneath the charming athlete facade. In closing arguments, James was passionate and clear. "Derek Patterson is a violent man who has hurt multiple women and threatened them into silence. His family has spent years covering up his crimes, paying off victims, using their money and influence to protect him from consequences. But money and influence can't change facts. Medical evidence proves Randy Patterson was violently assaulted. Testimony from 3 victims proves a pattern of violence. Emails prove a conspiracy to intimidate witnesses. The evidence is overwhelming. Derek Patterson is guilty." Marcus Dalton's closing focused on reasonable doubt, on the difficulty of knowing what really happened in a family dispute, on not destroying a young man's life over one mistake. But the jury had seen enough. They deliberated for 4 hours. The verdict came back just before 5 in the evening. Guilty on all counts. Aggravated assault, causing serious bodily harm. Witness intimidation. Conspiracy. Derek's face went white. Linda, sitting in the gallery, let out a wail. But I felt nothing. No joy, no relief. Just emptiness. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. The judge was a woman in her 60s who had clearly been unimpressed by Derek's testimony and Marcus Dalton's theatrics. "Mr. Patterson," she said, looking at Derek over her reading glasses, "you are a young man who was given every advantage. Athletic talent, family support, educational opportunities. You chose to use your physical strength to hurt people smaller and weaker than you. You chose to threaten your victims into silence. And when one victim refused to be silenced, you conspired with your mother to destroy her life. You show no genuine remorse, only regret at being caught. The court sentences you to 5 years in state prison, followed by 3 years probation." Derek was led away in handcuffs. He didn't look at me. Linda's trial followed a month later. The evidence against her was similarly overwhelming. Embezzlement, witness intimidation, conspiracy. She pleaded guilty as part of a deal that gave her 3 years probation instead of prison time, contingent on repaying every dollar she embezzled. Her real estate license was revoked, her reputation destroyed, her house in foreclosure. Everything she had worked for, gone. The defamation lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. The motion against my nursing license was withdrawn. The board cleared me after a brief investigation that found all accusations baseless. County General offered me my job back. Life slowly, painfully, began to rebuild. Jenny forgave me for the destruction of her apartment. understood it wasn't my fault. We stayed friends, though something had changed between us, a wariness that hadn't been there before. Taylor Brooks and Kayla Preston both reached out after the trial. We formed a support group, met monthly to talk about recovery and healing. Other women joined us, women who had been hurt and silenced, who found strength in speaking their truth. Dr. Sullivan checked on me regularly, became something like a mentor. She told me that in 30 years of practice, she had reported dozens of abuse cases, and most of the time the victims were angry at her for it. But I've never regretted doing the right thing, she said, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. Months passed. The physical injuries healed. The broken ribs knitted back together, though they ached in cold weather. The bruises faded to nothing. The emotional injuries took longer. I stayed in my apartment, returned to work, rebuilt my savings slowly. Went to therapy twice a week to process everything that had happened. Started speaking at domestic violence awareness events, using my nursing background and personal experience to help others recognize abuse, report it, escape it. 1 year after that night in the driveway, I stood in front of a group of nursing students at the state university. Someone had invited me to speak about recognizing abuse in healthcare settings, about the importance of mandatory reporting, about being the person who doesn't look away. A year ago, I told them, I sat in an examination room with 3 broken ribs and a lifetime of family trauma. My doctor saw my bruises, and she didn't blink. She didn't look away. She didn't accept my lies about falling downstairs. She looked at me and said 5 words that changed my life. You're safe now, I promise. Then she picked up the phone and reported what had been done to me, even though I begged her not to. I paused, looking at the young faces watching me intently. That phone call saved my life. Not because it immediately made everything better. It didn't. It made things worse before they got better. But it started a process that ended with justice, with safety, with freedom from abuse and silence. You're going to see patients who are being hurt by people they love, by family members, partners, friends. They're going to lie to you because they're scared or ashamed or trying to protect their abusers. Your job is to see past the lies to the truth underneath. Your job is to be the person who doesn't look away, who doesn't stay quiet, who picks up the phone even when it's hard. The woman who hurt me was my mother. The man who hurt me was my brother. Reporting them destroyed my family, cost me nearly everything, but it also gave me something invaluable, my voice, my truth, my freedom. Family doesn't mean accepting abuse. Love doesn't mean silence. Future potential doesn't excuse present violence. And speaking up is never wrong, even when everyone tells you to stay quiet. After the presentation, students lined up to ask questions, to share their own stories, to thank me. One young woman waited until everyone else had left. My boyfriend hits me, she whispered. But he's in medical school. He's going to be a doctor. Everyone thinks he's perfect. I don't want to ruin his future. I took her hands in mine. His future isn't more important than your right now. You matter. Your safety matters. And there are people who will help you. I gave her resource information, hotline numbers, the name of my therapist, watched her walk away with tears in her eyes and hope in her posture. This was my purpose now. This was what I had gained from everything I lost. The ability to help others find their voices, to stand up to abusers, to refuse to stay quiet. Derek was in prison, serving his sentence. I hadn't spoken to him since the trial. I had no plans to. He was no longer my brother, just a man who hurt me, and many others. Linda tried to reach out once, 6 months after her conviction. A letter asking for forgiveness, claiming she had been trying to protect her family the only way she knew how. I read it once and threw it away. Forgiveness required repentance, and her letter was full of justifications and excuses. I was done with excuses, done with silence, done with protecting people who didn't deserve protection. I was 29 years old, living alone, working as a nurse, speaking at events about surviving abuse. My life looked nothing like I had imagined a year ago, but it was mine. Fully, completely, honestly mine. And that was enough. If you've experienced something similar, I want to ask you, what would you have done in my situation? Would you have stayed quiet to protect your family? Or would you have spoken up for yourself? Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and your own safety? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective. If this story resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to hear more stories of survival and strength. Share it with someone who might need to hear that they're not alone, that speaking up is possible, that justice can happen even when it seems impossible. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for bearing witness to my pain and my healing. And if you're going through something similar right now, please know, you're not alone. You deserve safety. You deserve justice. You deserve to be heard. Stay strong, stay safe, and never let anyone tell you that silence is the price of family love.